Hi everyone, my name is Zain, and today I'm really excited about someone who has been a lot of inspiration to me in terms of like the way he coined some terms of like PGC, professional generated content, and his movie on the robots grow, completely AI animated film. And today we're going to talk about like how did he started his journey and like what his views on the future of AI filmmaking. Welcome, Tom Paton, on the podcast. Hi, Paton. How are you?
I'm good. I had
Yeah.
my gain turned down too much. There you go. Is that good? Seems about right.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. What's
Yeah.
the time here? What's the time there?
4 p.m. here, so towards the end of the day. How about you?
It's 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Yeah, it's like
Not
almost,
too bad. Could
yeah,
be
but like
worse.
it's like a startup, so my team is here. So yeah, we're working hard. Yeah.
Always.
So,
We know that drill.
yeah, it's been exciting to host you now. And by the way, hi, Klaus. How are you? Genuinely, I just want to ask about you.
Yeah, no, I'm good, thanks. I have a 3-year-old who keeps bringing home biological weapons grade colds and flu, so I'm just getting over one of those, but I'm okay in general.
Oh, amazing. And let's talk about one thing, like you taught yourself filmmaking by filming bar crawls in Cyprus.
Yeah,
What
wow,
was,
okay, really going back
tell
to
me
the
about
beginning.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
tell me about that.
I mean, look, I'm from a wave of filmmakers that I think was, it's a pretty unique period of time where, YouTube had just been created, digital cameras had just hit the market, the ability to edit digitally had just really kind of become prosumer friendly. And, I really kind of, when people ask me, like, where did you learn filmmaking? I'm like, I'm a student of YouTube. I taught myself visual effects from YouTube. I taught myself to code on YouTube. And one of the things that, really kind of birthed my career was this ability to buy prosumer cameras, film and edit events. So I started in Cyprus, and then before long I was doing music festivals around the world and, tours for various DJs. I ended up doing, it got to be 100+ music videos across that period as well. So
Wow.
it was kind of like, learning to be a filmmaker, learning to service clients' needs in a very unique way, which I think didn't exist before that period of time and probably doesn't exist now either.
You didn't go to any film school at all?
No, so I moved to Cyprus when I was 18. I was there for 2 years, and very passionate about storytelling. Really, not necessarily filmmaking in particular, but the art of telling a good story. And taught myself to edit and operate a camera first. Then I became a pretty proficient visual effects artist. And really kind of just this mentality of every day for, I don't know, 6+ years, I was like, I'm going to do 3 hours a day of education and I'm going to level up in every facet I can.
Wow.
And so, yeah, really, although I didn't go to a traditional film school, I feel like my film school was pretty intense because I didn't have a job during that period. My job was all around filmmaking. So if I didn't get good at it, I wasn't going to pay the rent or the bills. And so it was like film school, but with real dangerous pitfalls if I messed up.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That's very relatable as my journey was same. I started this company in third semester, so it's always been struggling to catch up studies and to catch up startup. So yeah, it's relatable. You have been you have five feature films 5 years before pivoting to AI. And
Yeah,
like
it's actually. I think it's 11. Actually, I think it's 11.
yeah,
I did 11 feature films. Yeah, which was pretty ridiculous.
yeah, my Claude need to improve a lot. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, come on, Claude.
So tell me about that. Like what you have learned. Like where you cannot learn if you don't produce that kind of films.
Yeah, I mean, look, my film directing career was kind of a weird extension of, my career beforehand, where everything was always about education and R&D. And I kind of brought that same mentality to indie film. And so it was always about experimenting with what's the new tech, what allows you to do as much as you possibly can with as little as you can. My first film, it was like 50,000, like £50,000, so like 75,000 US dollars in a paintball arena. And we used state of the art tech at the time. We used the Sony A7S, the original. We shot the whole film at like 20,000 ISO. And we only had 2 lights. And so it was constantly trying to figure out how do you use tech to advance this. And throughout those 11 films, the budgets kept growing. The actors I was working with, they went from sort of unknowns to, big Hollywood actors. But to be quite honest with you, what I learned was that filmmaking, it's really just a set of problems that you have to solve. In the morning, you wake up, somebody knocks the door and says, okay, here's 50 problems. And, as a filmmaker, you have to say, well, they're all my fault because I said I wanted to make the film. So just get over yourself, fix them, and try to deliver the day, And so, look, I guess in terms of like traditional filmmaking, like my priority was always on keeping to the schedule, keeping to the budget, delivering a watchable product in that short time frame. So weirdly, I think moving to AI for me kind of felt like luxury. Like I was used to doing like 18-day shoots, 10-hour days, and you'd have to cover like 8 pages of script, and the pressures of the weather and the actors and all of that stuff. Once you move into the AI space, it certainly feels like this is kind of nice. Where, I think where everybody else feels the pressure, I kind of go, yeah, no, this is really chill actually doing it in AI. So, but you learn a lot, I think that kind of filmmaking teaches you to figure out how to be pragmatic. Your shot list might have like, okay, I'm going to get like 12 camera setups here. I've got a very specific way I want to make this scene. And then you get to the location and your AD says, well, actually there's a storm coming in 20 minutes. So we've only got 20 minutes to get this. And you go, okay, well, forget those 12 shots then. How do we do this as one shot? How do we do this as a couple of different setups? That mentality in AI is great because, AI doesn't always play ball either, but knowing how you are going to tell that story, I think is the most important bit.
True. I agree. And tell me, what was the time, it was about when you first time saw the potential of AI?
Yeah, I'm very early to the game, actually. I was really looking at these sort of early latent diffusion models, which, as you know, they were pretty bizarre, very kind of like weird out there imagery, but you could see there was something fascinating about where that was heading. And then in 2020, I did a talk in London, and there were some other quite like influential people on this panel. I think I was there just as the token indie film guy for all these film students. And the question was asked by someone in the audience, like, what did everyone on the panel think was going to be the biggest problem for filmmaking over the next 10 years? I said machine learning, which kind of got a big laugh from the audience. Somebody made a joke about Skynet. But it really kind of inspired me. I was like, okay, I think there's something we should be looking at here. And so we started exploring AI for motion capture, AI for in-between frames. And then obviously that kind of put us in this unique position that, when that sort of 2022 renaissance hit, we were already here R&Ding. So, it was like Mid-Journey came out and the very next day we were exploring applications for it because we were already up and running R&Ding AI as a filmmaking tool, just very unsuccessfully at that point. Things have changed quite a bit since then though.
Yeah, amazing. I think so. Like we built Imagine exactly the same time, like in 2022 end. So it's been 4 years. Yeah. It's great to see, like where it all started and where it's all going. Even it's not stopping right now. It's exploding, every single day there's something new. It's like every single day there's like a Christmas. Yeah. So coming back to the point,
it's Christmas, but I also feel like a lot of people are feeling this fatigue. Like, okay, can we just like not have Christmas for a week, please?
Agree. Sometimes it's becoming overwhelming as well. Yeah. So tell me about the story of the Robots Grow. how did it all started? What was the idea behind it? You have a team of 9 people built it up. So tell me, what was like, tell me the whole story. Why did you do that?
Yeah, it's a funny one because I think while the AI stuff was going on, I was also very involved in Unreal Engine as a movement as well, and kind of going, okay, maybe we could use AI to power UE5 and all this kind of stuff. Before we made Where the Robots Grow, actually, we had an R&D vehicle called Pigeon Shine. Pigeon Shine was a joke of a name. AI was
Sure.
kind of trash back then, but we offered it up anyway, and Pigeon's the god of trash. So that was where that name came from. But so we were doing like lots of heavy R&D, and one of those pieces of R&D is we made a full feature film, 90 minutes. It's actually never been released. It's pretty good, but we just felt like, okay, it's not the right thing. And in that movie, we were doing lots of hybrid stuff where we were taking real actors, putting them on our virtual production wall, using generative AI backgrounds and 2.5D'ing them. This was sort of before that tech was even really kind of rolling out. And using a combination of like, traditional Unreal Engine 5 virtual production, but only using these AI images and these real actors. And once we made that film, we kind of looked at it and we were like, you know what, it's pretty cool. But I actually think what it's done is unlock the potential for an animated movie. And I had that script that was originally going to be just a UE5 film. And we looked at it and we were like, maybe this is a good place to start. They're robots, which means they don't have mouths. So we don't have to worry about the lip syncing issue. And really, it started out as an experiment. A lot of what we were doing at the time was just spending money to see if you could do it and not really knowing what would happen to the product at the end. But that particular one, I think it came out pretty well. Really unlocked a lot for us in terms of what the product could be, in terms of what the company would become, which is AI-Mation today. And it was really about like, okay, well, here's a story I kind of care about. It's meant for traditional stuff. I think one of the things that we see in AI a lot is AI is very user generated content focused, and I totally see why. Like as an application, AI comes from the tech world, and UGC is entirely their domain, and so it makes sense to have platforms that feel UGC orientated, platforms that feel agentic orientated. But long form storytelling is very different. First of all, you actually just have to have a good script, and those scripts are normally paced very differently to UGC content. It's long shots and a different style of editing. And we just felt like, okay, everybody else is zigging. They're going that way. That UGC trailers. Let's do kind of high concept, skibbity toilet-esque 2-minute things. And we were like, what if you just make a traditional film and you use all of the traditional trappings to do that? And so that was really the why of it. Like, why did we do it? What was funny is once we got into it, it was like, hey, this is kind of like making any other film. Like, oh, we need a bit more coverage here. How do we tell the right emotional beats? You also, when you make a traditional film, you kind of, that half the people are going to say I hate it. And with AI involved, we were like, okay, most of them are going to say they hate it, but for the people it resonates with, it'll work. And it kind of weirdly at some point it was just like, hey, we're just kind of making a film. It just happens to be using all of the available AI tools at our disposal. And it was kind of a pleasure, to do a film like that in 90 days felt pretty liberating. And then when we got to the end of it, we all watched it. And, because of my background in traditional movies, I showed it to a bunch of the traditional studios. I know a lot of these guys, and, I'm in a fortunate position where I can pick up the phone and say, hey, do you want to watch a thing? And, we got offers. We had like cash offers, like, we'll buy North America for this. We were like, okay, cool. And then they were like, yeah, and we'll release it Q3 2025. And I was like, no, come on, we're a tech company. Let's just chuck it on the internet for free. We made it with no expectation. So why don't we just cause some trouble with it? And that's how it ended up in the world.
Yeah. And like, what was the response? Like, Tom, what was the people response on that?
Do you know what? It was kind of funny, right? Because we weren't sure what was going to happen. I think the first thing I noticed was, there was lots of discourse around the film. And look, just to be clear, I think discourse is good.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
people are
yeah.
debating your product,
True.
then it
Agree.
was worth making, right? And I
Agree.
think a lot of people in the AI space. I
Yeah.
said this. We did a premiere for non-player combat AI reality show in December. And I
Yeah.
said to the crowd then something that I believe wholeheartedly, and it applies to where the robots go, which is I think a lot of AI filmmakers, they're so scared of the scrutiny of the internet. They're
Yeah.
like, it's got to be perfect. I've got to get this shot perfect, otherwise I
True.
can't release it. But traditional film doesn't operate like that. It's traditional film is full of continuity errors. It's full of mistakes.
Agree.
And it's because they
Agree.
don't have the same level of scrutiny. And so, I think we approach this knowing, okay, there's going to be a bunch of people here who they just hate it regardless. Even if actually
Yeah.
they watch them, are like, it's pretty good. Is it a masterpiece? Like, definitely not. It's a nice film for young kids. That's it, right? That's what it
Yeah.
is. And but what it did do is it brought a level of scrutiny down upon it that I don't think if it had been made traditionally, it would have got. But to be honest, I was kind of cool with that. I'm like, good, you guys
Yeah.
are now talking about this. You're seeing that, I think Where the Robots Go really was like a very early indicator to people that this was coming. I think 2 weeks before we released it, Jeffrey Katzenberg said, it's like 2 years, 3 years before we see an AI film. And then like 2 weeks later, we put that out. And if we made it today, it would be very different. It would be a very different project. It wouldn't have taken 90 days for a start.
True.
On average, our team hits 25 minutes every 2 weeks of content, regardless of style now. So but what I think it did do is it created debate. It made a lot of people sit up, and whether they hate AI or love AI, it made them discuss it within the arts. And I kind of think that is a good thing. Me, this is me talking, not the CEO founder of AI-Mation. Me as a person, I kind of like causing trouble. I like to pull a pin out of a grenade and just throw it and see what happens. And Where the Robots Grow was definitely a grenade. And we saw wildly hilarious results. Even some of the AI community were up in arms about it, where they're like, it wasn't AI enough for them. Which is kind of funny.
True.
It's like, okay, well, but now everybody wants to do hybrid production. So.
True. And tell me about this, this reality show in non-player combat. What was that about? Yeah, tell me about it.
So you can actually watch that online now. It came out in December. It's crossed over 2 million views across its season. It's 4 episodes. It's about 2.5 hours of content total. And the show itself, conceptually, it's kind of out there. Like, when we say it's an AI reality show, like we really mean that. So what we did is we took 6 non-player characters, in a sort of 2D platformer, and we gave them access to their own LLM. That LLM had, a 250-page backstory. Where did they go to school? What's their favorite food? How many kids do they have?
Wow.
Wow. And then we basically put these NPCs in an arena and said, okay, you're going to fight to the death. It's going to feel like it's 4 weeks. You're going to constantly give us your thoughts, feelings. You're going to address the camera, tell it why you're making that decision. And then it gave us pages and pages of system logs, like loads of them. We have our own enterprise platform for building long form content. And so we took those logs, we put them inside the platform, used them to break it down, created the visuals that you see in the final product. But in a very weird, real way, the decisions the characters are making, the things they are saying and doing, that's AI. That's not us. There was no script. And so I think it makes it this fascinating glimpse into where tech is going. And for me, that's the bit that I'm most interested like right now. I think there's a lot of focus on how do we use this for film? How do we use this for TV? I think I'm personally very interested in, but what's the emergent media? What's the stuff that's coming that we don't know about, And for me, AI reality TV represents, okay, well, this is weird. You could never do this for real. You can never have, 6 people that think they're real, try and hunt each other. This is crazy what you're attempting to do. but it works, and I sort of say to people, I'm like, again, we had that very polarizing response. We were on the front page of all the papers in Europe, people kind of up in arms. I went on like daytime TV here, and we took the AI host and, did this big interview. And I think it was
I
so
love that idea.
polarizing. Yeah, it was cool, man. It was super cool. We're going to do more. We've got season 2 coming.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think so. Like you're saying, it's like a pure AI, but I think so. The craft of putting that 250 pages for each character is like it's worth taking a shot and just thinking about it. How AI gonna react with those this system prompt of like who's their unique personality is, and just like it's just amazing whatever you guys have done, and it's amazing to watch it up. Would love to put my time as well. So yeah, like do you? But by the way, do you really think does AI cut cost? Does AI in films cut cost or not?
Look, I think, the answer everybody wants me to give is no, not really. But the answer is yes, it does. I made 11 feature films, and, even at the very lowest end, you really are scrimping and scraping. And the thing with traditional film is that there really is never enough money. If someone gives you a 5 million budget or a 200 million budget, the expectation of scale that goes with that expanded budget means there's never enough days to film it. There's never enough money to achieve what you're doing, and I think here's one of the things where I guess I kind of, I say this and I feel it's true, and I feel it's important to be truthful. I think a lot of people, when it comes to AI, they go, well, it's just a tool. It's just a tool. And I think, well, that feels disingenuous to the traditional film community. They go, well, a tool is, the screwdriver that I screw the floorboards down with. What AI really feels like in terms of traditional production is sort of like having a crew where you say, hey, you know what? I need a cutaway shot of the Roman Colosseum. And that crew member gets on a plane, flies over there, gets the shot, signs it off, flies back. That's gone, right? And you've essentially employed an AI to perform that task for you. There's no way to say it doesn't cut costs. It's kind of silly. But what I do believe, I firmly believe this. I think it's important to say this so I don't sound like a evil tech bro that's trying to cut stuff. I think that the opportunity there is we call this PGC, professional generated content. So right now we've got traditional media and we've got user generated content. But in the middle, this new economic lane can emerge. And that's really what we're trying to pioneer and push with our Omnigen platform and with the work that we do in-house with our GVOD platform is, okay, well, actually, in traditional media, when you develop projects, maybe you develop 10 scripts and an awful lot of money gets sunk into that development, but only one of them gets the green light. So, 9 of your babies die and one of them makes it to the end. PGC using AI allows you to greenlight the other 9 in a digital first strategy. And if you can monetize that correctly, now what happens is you go, well, this is a valuable IP now. It's got an audience. So maybe it transitions over to traditional media. But, I think that instead of looking at AI and going, well, it makes filmmaking cheaper, I think it's about looking at AI and going, it's a brand new medium. And with a brand new medium, we should also have a brand new economic lane, which says, okay, I can still make my money from traditional media. I can also make money from PGC. And I don't have to be a TikTok creator and go and dance in a supermarket to get the hits. I can do this instead. So I think it's important that I say that. Like, it does cut costs, but I think it can be used for something different.
Yeah. It's amazing, like I really love this term of, PGC, like professional generated content. I think so, like someone should coin this term and, you did a great job. I think so. I've
been trying so hard to coin this. It helped me spread the word. Hey, if we could just get people saying it.
Sure. I want it. let me put a feature of Imagine Art on this, PGC content, like let me do that. Yeah. I love this
Well,
idea. I
let's
really love
talk.
this
Let's
idea.
talk after the show.
And and specifically, like when I think about, thinking about AI, I feel like, when I try to make my, creative team, I book a lot of people who have not so much background in films and stuff, and they build a good, cool content that got millions views, but I realize that the people are not truly sticking to my brand, and there's a soul is missing in terms of storytelling. And then I talk to some film guys, bring them back in the team, combine them all together, and I realize that like you cannot produce a film with having a film background. You cannot do that. It's not possible. And like even if you have, like even if you're able to create that some shots, but there will be something missing, that storyline. I believe. And one more thing is, like what I'm again and again getting it up is, I think so, like the greatest thing about this, what AI is doing for us, is like, giving a gift of the creativity, is niching down to writing, storytelling. And that's what it is, the person who has a massive crazy, that you put an example of, like all of those 10 ideas are great, and you just pick one in the past, but now you can pick 3 to 4 as well. And it's a great virtue, like you think about something and it's get out, and people watch it up. Even for the real artist, they don't think about a lot in numbers. They think about, producing something that is worth a time for someone to watch it out. So yeah, it's an exciting time, and it's exciting time, whatever we are, working it out, what you guys have. You have
Well,
your own.
listen, I kind of, just to jump in on what you were saying there, because I think it's an important point, right? Like, here's the thing about filmmaking that I think people forget, and this to me is what actually makes PGC work. Like,
Yeah,
filmmaking is
yeah,
the only universal language on the planet. And when I say that, I specifically mean editing. Editing is specifically the only universal language that we've ever had as a species. Like, if I
true.
watch a film from Japan with no subtitles and I don't speak Japanese, I still intrinsically know what the close up means. I know that they're telling me something important. I know when the
True.
camera does a whip pan, it's telling me, okay, a moment of sudden action is about to happen.
True.
Like,
True.
editing is a language, right? And this is
Wow.
where I think that, when I watch a lot of AI content and you see some of it goes viral and you're like, okay, cool. It's because, Brad Pitt is punching Tom Cruise. Okay, get it.
True.
But why aren't I connecting with it? Like, what is missing that doesn't make sense? And to me, it's the
Yeah.
same as this. I'm on a podcast with you right now. We're having a conversation, and suddenly I just say pineapples. And you're like, what are you talking about? Why are you saying pineapples?
Yeah. True.
And it ruins
True.
the flow of the conversation. When I
True.
watch this content that doesn't understand that editing is the language, it's basically like somebody talking to me. They're saying words that I know, but they're saying them in the wrong order, and they're giving me a confusing conversation. And I go, yeah, I get what you mean, but I don't. Well, what are you trying to say? It's like speaking to somebody where your language isn't their first language, and they've only got the basics down. And so, the thing that I kind of rally against personally, is I look at professional generated content, and I look at these kind of like multi-shot modes, and I'm like, I don't want that. What I want is the ability to make that shot myself. If you really want to level up as a filmmaker, and this isn't just in the AI space, this is in the traditional space as well. You learn to edit. Like, make sure that
Yeah.
you understand the language of cinema. Like, you're speaking a 100-year-old universal language. And if you don't speak it properly, the audience says, I don't know, something's wrong with that. They can't tell you what's wrong with it. And you don't speak the language, so you don't know what's wrong with it. And so you
True.
end up with this kind of like soulless slop, unfortunately. So yeah, go learn editing. That's my big thing for today.
Yeah, it's amazing. You're I think so. You're really good in naming things, and getting up with good terms. When you say in filmmaking, the language is editing. And I get it, I totally get it. It's all about that feel, and all that feel is coming towards, how did you put a sound? How did you move the camera? How did you, put the stretches? I think so. It's amazing. You're 100% right. It's all about, um, yeah, like, how did you edit it up? So coming back to the question is, this major Hollywood studios and broadcasters using your platform for their own content. What's the platform is?
So we run a platform called ImagineArt. We're only focused on enterprise customers. So, we do have a few content creators that come in and use, a token-based version, but it's almost entirely not our interest. And ImagineArt is specifically focused on long-form content. We're not, again, if someone wants to come and make 2 minute short on there, then fine, but it's actually not the point of it. The point is, do you want to make your 90-minute film in 6 weeks and get it to a standard that's deliverable? And when I say deliverable, that's the thing that we've really kind of put a lot of time in. And I think this is, I come from a strange world. I'm like half my body is in the tech world and always has been. And half of it is in filmmaking. And going back to that language analogy, one of the things that is quite funny, and I think it's why tech is so disruptive to entertainment, is the entertainment world has a very specific language that it speaks when it comes to deliverables, quality control. What do you need to sell a film in various territories? What kind of bit rates and color mapping and all this stuff do you need for it to go to broadcast TV? And the most important thing across all of this is chain of title. And I think that the AI space understands this to some degree. They go, we're going to look at, giving you your prompts. But I'm like, that's not chain of title. Not really. Not in the language that the film and the entertainment world understands. And so what we did is we just focused on going, okay, provenance first, top down, okay, once you start making this project in this system, you're going to be able to make sure that everything is documented. And again, I think this is kind of the difference where, PGC requires like a different mentality. If I'm making a UGC platform, probably my customer is like one person who's making something awesome on their own. Maybe it's like a couple of people, and they're kind of liaising over, Google Chat or whatever to get the project to work, using Slack. But when you're talking about a studio, like a big broadcaster, and we've got, one of the biggest broadcasters here in the UK is an enterprise customer for us. You might have 100 people in one project. And, one of the big issues with AI that these companies are having is all these new tools coming out, and kind of across the company, they're seeing 10,000 different pipelines develop at speed. And if I'm the head of AI for that company, I'm like, why is everybody using like 10,000 different pipelines that we can't keep track of and legal and angry? So what we built is an environment to house that stuff and really track provenance. And it allows these companies to start scaling these tools in a way where when it's finished, they've essentially got all of the documentation they need for their traditional deliverables. And so it's been a very different focus for us. We've been quiet. I think people were like, oh, you're just the crazy guys that make the weird AI shows. But actually, those shows are, for instance, like, why make 2.5 hours of non-player combat? Why don't we just do like little snippets in vertical and put them out? It's like, because we didn't really care whether it got 1,000 views or 2 million views. We're like, okay, there's like 700 people on the planet that we want to see this, and they saw it, and they go, okay, we didn't realize we could do this. So then they have that conversation, and so we've got a very different business model, I think, to a lot of AI companies.
And like what you have seen is, when you look at other film tools, there are some generic tools who are trying to do that. There are some people who are using node-based to build films and short films as well. But like, do you think the future of film production will be extremely technical tool with the right term of all the films and the background of it? Tell me the ideal product interface for filmmakers.
Well, I like to think it's the one we've built, so we could talk about that afterwards as well. But
Yeah.
I think that the answer to your question in like a more generic sense is okay. So there's two different things going on here, and again, I think it's this kind of disconnect between UGC and building tools for user generated content, and then the necessities for broadcast. Right? You're talking about incumbent studios that might have 3,000 employees spread across the world. One of the things that makes that company work is an understanding of a singular pipeline. So, from the moment film was created as a medium, for its first 25 years of inception, there's a group of people essentially agreeing on what the pipeline is. Like, this is what pre-production looks like. This is what production is. This is the kinds of lighting that you need. These are the kinds of cameras you're going to need. And then we're agreeing on post-production too. So you've basically got globally one agreed upon unified pipeline that thousands and thousands of people know, and it makes them good at their job, right? This is the problem with AI currently. AI enters the picture, and like you just said, some people are using nodes and some people are using basic stuff. Some people are using wrapper apps. And actually what's missing from the marketplace is a unified environment that is, here's one clear pipeline. So whether you're the executive, like you might be a 75-year-old executive producer, you might be a 21-year-old set runner, but both of them understand the same pipeline traditionally. And so what we've gone out of our way to build is that tool for everyone. Now, in traditional world, you still have specialists, right? Like you still have that one guy who's like a specialist on Houdini, and he's going to do that specialist shot that will make the product sing. I think the future is going to look like this. Companies at a broadcast and a studio level using one singular environment. I like to think it's our environment, and we've made some headwaves there quietly doing it. And then they'll have an AI department. It's like, yeah, but these got a specialist guys in. They might go off and use a node-based system for that one shot. But the environment for everyone to understand will be sort of one or two platforms duking it out. And I think they're the ones you haven't heard of right now. I think it's us and, a couple other people who are also very quiet. And, one of us will win that race for the hearts and minds of these broadcasters and studios. But I don't think it does away with all of the work that's been going on in the UGC space. There's guys out there that are like, this person's the best at fight scenes, and they've got a very specific, comfy UI node-based pipeline for that fight scene. So we might hire that person just for this one fight scene so we can get that right. But everything else is going to be made in the environment by the rest of the team. And so, I think what we're going to start to see is an establishment of the rules. That's the thing that's missing. Like people say it all the time, like AI is the Wild West. It really is the Wild West, but you can't scale that across a company. And a legal team and a head of the tech department needs to know there's just this one environment. And just my final point on that, media, traditional media is built on being transient. I work at one company or I work as a freelancer on one film. I do great in that role. And then another job comes up 3 months later because it's just a freelance job. So I'm on this movie for 3 months and then I need to get another freelance gig. And so I depend on a unified pipeline. I work on this film for 3 months and then I can jump to that film at a totally different company because they've got the same pipeline. And so there's a real need inside the broader entertainment industry for a unified pipeline that doesn't really, it's not about the models. It's not about, like new techniques. It's like all of that stuff can be plugged in at any point. It's just that my pipeline isn't going to flux around thanks to this. And we all understand it.
Tom, like coming from a technical background, like I'm doing a computer science, I've gotten into this ImagineArt, build it up. Like, I'm just trying to understand when people, I've seen a lot of people using this term of pipeline. Can you explain me what this pipeline is?
Yeah, pipeline, you're right. It's a super overused word, but it's the best word for it, right? So, for instance, if we think about it in terms of a user on ImagineArt, they come to the platform probably with an idea. So they're at the ideation stage. And they go, okay, I'll make a few images and then I'll start to ideate my project out and I'm feeling around it. That's their personal pipeline, right? And that kind of stuff works very well for like one or two people. But it kind of starts to fall apart when you're like, okay, somebody wrote a script and then a studio acquired the script and then there were 6 producers assigned to that script. And then another writer was brought in to rewrite that project. And then a director was assigned and the director's got notes and he's got his preferred writer. So that writer's come on board. And then a bunch of pre-development work was done. And so
It's like a
all of a
management
sudden,
project.
yeah, now
It's like
before you even get to the bit where we put the prompt in, there's 12 people's opinion at pre-production stage, right? And so you need an agreed workflow. Okay, we're going to start here. We're going to do this. Then it's going to move to visualization. We're going to get approvals on visualization. Then we're going to go to experimentation. Then we're going to... One of the biggest issues is you've got a director at the top and that person is able to communicate their unified vision to 150 people. You know, when I did traditional filmmaking, you know, you would wake up, you go to set, and you know, someone gives me a coffee and there's 100 crew members and they're standing there and they're just looking at me. What do you want? You know? And I'm like, okay, so we're going to shoot over there. We need these lights. This is where the atom, this is how it's going to work. And you have to come to set and pretend like I know what I'm doing. You know, most of the time you don't, but you have to look like you do. And that is the pipeline, right? That's a unified pipeline.
My question is like, how did you like? Let's suppose if you pick a lot of young people, that's a question on my side as well. I have a lot of young people. You know, how did you decide? You know, which is going to be the director? Who is going to be the director?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is it. Again, from a traditional perspective, like the jobs are clearly defined, right? Like you start your film career knowing what you want to be. You go, I'm going to be a director one day. Or you say, I'm going to be a first assistant director. I want to be a script supervisor, you know, and you pursue that career to its inevitability. The AI filmmaking world, because it's so nascent, you know, one of the wonderful things about AI is that suddenly people who felt that creative spark in them, but, you know, they were working, you know, I don't know, at a bakery or something, you know, they're like, hey, I made a film last night, right? Awesome. But there's a difference between that and like, okay, I pursued this to the ends of the earth. And that is, you know, those people have a specific pipeline. And it's those ones that are so upset about AI, right? Because they're like, hey, I spent 10 years working my way up to be the head script supervisor. And now you're saying that my life is going to be lonely, just me in a room prompting. And they reject that conceptually. And I also think it's why most of the AI companies are having so much trouble finding real footing within the mainline entertainment industry. They're all using it. They're all dabbling. They're making images and they're doing stuff. But what they aren't doing is adopting it as an end-to-end pipeline because that solution has been missing. And that's where we focus. We've gone, let's fix that. That's where our value is. Like, I'm never going to build a company that, you know, I'm no good at attracting users. I can't beat ImagineArt at making user-generated content and bringing those. I can't do it. But I know the film world. I know these people. I know what they want. And so we built that.
True. Really love your energy. Like Tom, I really love your energy. And it's amazing to have having a podcast with you. It's amazing what I've learned. And specifically these 2 terms, I love this, you know, editing is the language and then, you know, PGC. You know, hopefully you're going to see a lot of, you know, this PGC keyword in ImagineArt. And I think so. Let me push it more to the world. And it's great talking to you. It's great talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no. Yeah, this has been great. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Take care. You too. Bye.